I woke up with the American dream. I went to bed in a nightmare. It was April 9th, 2014, the worst day of my life. Just so you're aware, this episode contains sensitive topics, including mental health struggles, substance use, child violence, and family challenges. If you're sensitive to these things or have young children nearby, you may want to pause or skip ahead. I've made hints and references to this day in multiple other episodes, but I've never really gotten into the details. And I'm not even going to be able to get into all of the details today because there's so much context of stuff that happened before and stuff that led up to that would help explain it all. But today, we're just going to get the basics. We're just going to get the full the story of that day out there. And that's really what season 2 is actually going to be about. Season 2 is going to be fleshing out this idea about the worst day of my life because there's so many lessons to learn from it and so many ways to grow. And really, for me, this is like the center point of history for me. I'm not comparing myself to Jesus Christ, but anything and everything that happened prior to the birth, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ pointed to that day. And everything in history since that day points back to that day. And so the only analogy that I'm making, the only comparison I'm making is that for me, everything that happened before April 9th of 2014 led up to that day. And everything since that day kind of points back and stems from that day. So what do I mean when I say that I had the American dream? Well, it was everything that I ever wanted growing up. I was taught, grew up with the idea that I wanted a family, I wanted a wife, I wanted kids, I wanted a good job, I wanted all of those things. And waking up on April 9th of 2014, I had 3 young children. I had a beautiful wife. I had 2 cars in the 2-car garage. We lived in a gated community in it wasn't brand new by then, but we were the first people to have ever lived in this house. We had friends across the street. We had a great church that we went to. I was an usher at the church. We had been there for a few years, and we had a pretty decent circle of friends. I had a great job where I was making about $85,000 a year back in the day when that actually really meant something. So we were moving up in the world. We were happy, at least on the outside. There were plenty of things that were brewing, plenty of things brewing under the surface that we were not dealing with. But on the outside, and in a lot of ways, I had that dream. I had everything that I had strived for my whole life up until that point. And I went to bed that night in a nightmare. So just let me get through the course of events. I may get some of these details wrong. It's been 10 plus years since this happened, but I'm gonna give you, to the best of my recollection, the events of the day. So I woke up at the usual time, which for me at that time was about 6 o'clock in the morning. I woke up, packed my lunch, probably took a shower, grabbed some breakfast, kissed my wife goodbye for the day. She was still sleeping, waiting for the kids to wake up. I usually walk by the kids' rooms and kind of just said a quick prayer over them. And I walked out the door, got in my car, drove my 20 minutes to work, got to the office, was just going through my morning, treating patients, taking care of things. And I get a text message late in the morning from my wife saying she was having a really hard time with the kids. Now, my wife has a long history of mental health issues, postpartum depression, and things like that. Things I wish that I knew more about then. At the time, I didn't know how serious things were. I was basking in this glow of this American dream that I had. I knew that there were some issues, but I was not as aware of a human as I am now. And I made a lot of mistakes back then. So I'm not trying to make any excuses for myself at all. I made plenty of mistakes in all this. And as I flesh this all out more and more over the rest of the season, you're going to realize that I am a deeply, deeply flawed individual. Anyway, she texted me about how she's having a hard time with the kids, especially our daughter. She had a very difficult time in dealing with our one little girl, the preemie baby. She was at that time, she was almost 2. And like we texted a little bit, and then it got to the point where, she was like, I need to just call you. And so she calls me and she relays the story of what was going on that day. And, this is going to be a little hard for me to talk about. And just so you're aware, like this is all of this stuff has been handled legally now. So there's no need to get too worried. I mean, like some bad stuff happened. And so this is going to be a very honest podcast, a very honest story for me. And like I said, I made lots of mistakes. And if you have children, this might not be a time for them to listen. Or if you're very sensitive to issues like about violence and abuse, this might be a time for you to skip ahead or just not listen to this part. But she told me that she had, my daughter had woken up and she had gone in there to check on her. And something that she was doing had frustrated my wife. And she's like, before I go in there and handle that, she went out and she would often smoke a little bit of marijuana in order to help calm down and keep her calm. So she had gone out to do that, and then she went back in to deal with my daughter. And she was still very frustrated, and she got extremely angry with my daughter. And this is what she's telling me on the phone. And so she told me that she picked her up by her neck. And I was like, okay, all right, so what do I do? What do I do now? And she says, she told me, she said, Andrew, I know I messed up, but I called the Vanessa Behan Crisis Nursery. So I don't know if any of you know what a crisis nursery is. A crisis nursery is a place where moms, dads, parents can call and just say, I'm having a really hard time with my kids and I feel like I can't handle it anymore. Can you keep an eye on my kids for the day or for the hour or for whatever? And she had called this Vanessa Behan Crisis Nursery and said, she had told them what happened. And then she called me. So, and she had arranged to go drop the kids off. And those kinds of places are what's called a mandatory reporter. So if they hear reports of things like that, they are, well, fast forward. Like, here's my biggest mistake. I should have gotten in my car and driven home as fast as I could. But I thought things were under control. Big mistake. But no excuses on my part. But I thought things had calmed down. I thought she was going to go drop the kids off and that things were going to be okay and that we would just move on from there. So I went back to work and, I would text her and just check in and see how things were going throughout the day. And things seemed to be stabilized, and she was still going to go take the kids up. And later on in the day, I get a call, And this lady identifies herself, and she's like, "Hi, my name is," I can't remember her name, Julie something or other. They called my personal number, and I'm at the office, and I don't generally take calls from people I don't know or where I don't recognize their number without just in the middle of the day when I'm at the office. But for some reason, like, something told me to pick up this phone call. And I pick it up, and they said, "Hi, this is Julie something or other," I think was her name. And she said, I work at CPS. And I just want to know, I just want to tell you that we have your kids in custody and your wife is in jail. And my world stopped. My world, like, I think I probably stopped breathing. And I was like, took me a second, and I was like, okay, so what do I need to do? And she said, "Well, we're not going to let you're not allowed to have your kids. So we called your mom and your sister, and they are on their way to come pick up your kids. And your wife is going to be in jail at least overnight." So I went up to the front desk and I said, "Guys, ladies, I gotta go." And whatever tone of voice I used, they picked up on the urgency of the situation. I had one patient that was in a room that I needed to take care of before I left, and I pulled myself together. I went in and I took care of that patient in a very professional manner. And they said, "Cancel all the rest of my patients. I gotta go. So I grabbed all my stuff. I walked out of the office, and I started driving home. And where I lived versus the office, I had to travel some back roads, and so it was kind of windy. And my phone starts to ring, and it's the Spokane County Jail. And so I'm assuming that this is my wife making her phone call. Well, I don't know if you know how it all works, but like I had to set up an account. I had to pay a certain amount of money in order to be able to actually talk to her on the phone. So I'm driving down these windy roads, barely keeping myself together, barely keeping my composure. Trying to stay on the road, like sobbing and trying to just keep my shit together. And like I said, I can't talk. I gotta figure this whole thing out. And she keeps trying to call me, and I'm trying to call the jail, and I'm trying to set up this account so there's money on it so that I can actually talk to her, because it's a collect phone call. And she's trying to call me at the same time. I keep getting cut off, and I keep trying to make this call and talk to this person. And now I got my mom and my sister, and I got my brother. I got all these people in there trying to call me, and I'm trying to just drive home and keep from dying on the way. And I finally am able to set up the account. I'm finally able to actually connect with a phone call. And I don't even remember what I said to my wife at the time. Like, I just was like, "Are you okay? Like, what's going on?" She said, "Yeah, they came to the house, and they reported, like, Vanessa Behan is a mandatory reporter, so they called the police and told them what happened, and like then people came. She told me that basically that they had come to the house. The police had come to the house with a social worker. The social worker took kids, and she got arrested and went to jail." And I was like, okay. So I mean, there was literally at that point, like the jail was closed by that time. Like there was literally nothing I could do. And now all I can do is think about, like, I'm trying to check on my kids, trying to make sure they're okay, and trying to talk to my mom and stuff. And so I get off the phone, and by the time I get off the phone, that's about when I got home, and talked to the social worker, called her back. She said, yep, your mom and your sister are on the way. I was like, can I come see my kids before they go? She said, no, because this happened in your house, you're under like suspicion too of stuff that happened. And so, like now I'm talking to my mom and my sister. Do you guys need to come pick up anything from that? No, we're just going to take care of it. Like you take care of your stuff. And we're going to go to the CPS office, or we're going to grab the kids and we'll take them home, and they're going to be safe and they're going to be okay. My mom was like, they're going to stay at my house. We'll have a place for them to sleep. We have some jammies for them. They'll be okay. And I was just like, okay, so, all right, my kids are going to be okay. Number one, they're going to be with my mom. Okay. My wife is in jail. We'll deal with that as it comes. And so I was just sitting at my house, and there's nothing. Now there's literally nothing I can do. I can't check on my kids. I can't check anymore on my wife. I can't I can't do anything. So now I'm just sitting at my house, freaking out, trying to breathe, and I can't remember exactly what happened, but my younger brother lived in Spokane at the time. And I don't remember if I called him or he called me. Anyway, we talked on the phone. He said, I'm coming over to the house. I'm coming over because it's not good for you to be alone right now. Even if we don't talk, even if we just sit there, like, I'm not going to leave you alone until I know that you're going to be okay. So I think he grabbed some pizza on the way home or on the way over. And my younger brother, Peter, God bless him, came over to my house, and he just sat with me. And like, I recounted the events of the day, and like from my recollection, all that I could remember and all I could think of, I just needed to sit there and first of all, I just needed to sit there in silence some and just be quiet. But then I also needed some time as well to just process through what had happened and what was going on. And my brother stayed until, I don't know, it was midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, like talking some, but mostly just sitting there. And my mom called me later that evening when she got home with the kids, and the kids were in bed, the kids were asleep, and everyone was okay. And she's like, we're just going to deal with this, Andrew. That's just the way my mom is. She's like, well, we're just going to handle this. The kids are safe right now. You're at least okay. And, we'll deal with Danielle when that situation as it comes. We'll wait to hear the details before we make any decisions or do anything crazy. And so I think I went to bed. I went to bed, but I didn't really sleep. I just laid there all night, just like talking to God and trying to figure some stuff out. And so that's the story of the worst day of my life. And one of the things now that I try to remember is that nowadays, when I'm having a bad day or dealing with some really tough shit, I'm like, well, I can go back to that day and realize that I survived that, whatever I'm dealing with today is not as bad as that. So whatever it is that's going on now, if I can survive what happened then, I can survive this. I can survive getting in a car accident. I can survive almost running out of gas. I can survive being broke. I can survive just about any kind of bad news. If I can survive that, I can survive this. So I just wanted to tell that story today. And so, like I said, so there's a lot of details. You probably have a lot of questions and a lot of things that you want to know about. Check out my social media down below, and if you want to ask me a question, feel free to reach out. I prefer you not ask too many private personal questions in the comments. But if that's what you feel like you need to do, then do it. But I prefer that you check my social media down below. Reach out to me and ask me any question you want. And like I said, the rest of this season, every Friday episode is going to be hashing out, working through some of those details so that I'm not leaving you in the dark, so that you have the full story. As you can imagine, there's a whole lot that I'm not saying at this point because it would take literally hours. So that's what we're going to do. And then we're also going to talk about the things that have happened since then that's allowed me to grow. So please like the content, share it, comment down below, reach out to me. Also, there's going to be a link. I just started a blog page too on Substack. So the link for that's going to be in the subscription below. You'll be able to reach out to me there too. So I know this was a tough one. I know this one hits you right in the feels. It does for me too. Every single time I tell it, it doesn't get any easier, but it's a story that needs to be told. So I hope you appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next time.
So if you like this content, please give it a rating, a review, and share it with your friends. Also, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about me and what I'm all about and what I can maybe do for you, check out my website at thedangerousgentleman.org. That's thedangerousgentleman.org. Thank you for listening.